Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I'm G24 and
I am Izati, match number 1173824.
and this is week 8 discussion 6
And we'll be discussing
on author of the book Prisoner of Zenda.
Yeah, which is our second book. So the author is
I think it's Sir Anthony Hope.
Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins.
His full name is Sir Anthony Hope Hawkins, and is well known as Anthony Hope.
Oh yes.
So when is he actually born?
On 9 February 1863.
Oh, a long time ago. And he died?
He died on 8 July in 1933, which is how many years?
Around 70, I guess.
Yeah, around 70.
So he was actually an English novelist and playwright. And then
He was a prolific writer, especially of adventure novels, but he is remembered predominantly for only 2 books, which is 2 popular books: The Prisoner of Zenda
and its sequel, Rupert of Henshaw. So these works, minor classics of English literature, which we intendedly choose because it's a classic genre, and so they are set in the contemporaneous fictional country of Ruritania, and spawned the genre known as Ruritanian romance.
Yeah, it's like a romance but also adventure
And classical.
Yeah, all in one.
Yeah, we love it. And so the book has actually inspired many adaptations, and most notably the 1937 Hollywood movie using the same name.
That's a movie.
There's a lot of movies actually adapting from the novel.
Have you watched it?
I think I watched one of them, but I couldn't really remember. So this is actually how Anthony Hawkins looked like. Yep. And we actually forgot to tell where did he born.
He born?
Yeah, where?
Oh, where? He's born on Clapton, London. So he's like England. He's born in England.
He's actually British. His nationality is British, and he did work as a barrister, and then he changed his profession to a writer.
I wonder what is barrister.
I don't actually know.
I don't know too.
Maybe like coffee barista, no?
No, I think it's different.
Different kind of barista. So maybe you can tell us more about the early career.
Early career. Hope was educated at St. John's School, Letterhead, Maryborough College and Balliol College in Oxford. Hope trained as a lawyer and barrister, being called to the bar by the Middle Temple in 1887. He served his pupillage under the future Liberal Prime Minister H.H. Asquith, who thought him a promising barrister, and who was disappointed by his decision to turn to writing, which means before that he doesn't write, he do something else.
He actually barrister at first, and then he changed profession to writer. And Hope actually had a lot of time to write because his working day was not overfull during these early years, and he lived with his widowed father, then vicar of St. Bride's Church, Fleet Street. So Hope's short piece appeared in periodicals, but for his first book he was forced to resort to a self-publishing press. So actually, A Man of Mark, which he wrote in 1890, is notable primarily for its similarity to Zenda, because it is also set in an imaginary country.
The country was Talent. And
so
it features political upheaval and humor. More novels and short stories follow, including Father Stafford in 1891 and the mildly successful Mr. Wheat's Widow in 1892. He stood as the Liberal candidate for Whitcombe in the election of 1892 but was not elected.
And then in 1893 he wrote another 3 novels, which is Port Royal, A Change of Air and Half a Hero, and a series of sketches. The first appeared in the Westminster Gazette and were collected in 1894 as the Dolly Dialogues, illustrated by Arthur Rackham. So Dolly was actually his first major literary success. What else?
The idea for Hope's tale of political intrigue, The Prisoner of Zenda, being the history of 3 months in the life of an English gentleman, came to him at the close of 1893 as he was walking in London. Hope finished the first draft in a month, and the book was in print by April. He just finished it using a month.
Yeah,
That's
I
impressive.
think he has lots of ideas to write. That's why.
And the story is also set in the fictional European kingdom of Ruritania, a term which has come to mean the novelist and dramatist locale for court romances in a modern setting.
Yeah, Prisoner of Zenda has actually achieved instant success and its witty protagonist, the debonair Rudolf Rassendyll, became a well-known literary creation. So the novel was praised by Mason, literary critic Andrew Lang, and Robert Louis Stevenson. So the popularity of Zenda had convinced Hope to give up the brilliant legal career that seemed to lie ahead of him to become a full-time writer, but he never again achieved such complete artistic success as in this one book. And also in 1894, Hope produced The God in the Car, a political story.
He writes a lot about politics.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's because before that he works with the minister.
Oh yeah. That one he worked as a barrister.
Yes.
He involves mainly in the ministry.
Yeah, maybe he learned politics at that time. And I will talk about later years. And Hope wrote 32 volumes of fiction over the course of his lifetime, and he had a large popular following. In 1896, he published The Chronicles of Count Antonio. Followed in 1897, Chronicles by a Tale of Adventure set on a Greek island, entitled Prosor. Then he went on a publicity tour of the United States in the late 1897, during which he impressed a New York Times reporter as being somewhat like Rudolf Rassendyll, a well-dressed Englishman with a hearty laugh, a soldierly attitude, a dry sense of humor, quiet, easy manners, and an air of shrewdness.
So he does not only write on Rudolf Rassendyll, he also resemble him in real life.
Yeah.
And then in 1898, he wrote Simon Dale, a historical novel involving actress and courtesan Nell Gwyn. So Mary Tempest appeared in the dramatization called English Nell, and one of Hope's play, The Adventure of Lady Ursula, was produced in 1898. And then this was followed by his novel The King's Mirror, which Hope considered one of his best work, and Captain Diab in 1899. So in 1900, he published Quizante, and he was elected chairman of the committee of the Society of Authors. I see he first started as a young writer, and then he rise to become a famous and notable one.
Yeah. Yes.
What an inspiration. So
in 1906, he produced Sophie of Cravonia, a novel in a similar vein to Zenda, which was serialized in the Windsor magazine. Roger Lansing's Green is especially damning of this effort. Nevertheless, the story was filmed twice. in Italy in 1916 as Sofia de Cravonia, and in the United States in 1920 as Sophie of Cravonia or the Virgin of Paris. Both adaptations feature the actress Diana Karen in the title role, billed as Diana Carani in the latter film.
So he actually wrote a lot of books and novels, and they were all adapted into dramas and movies. And then we would like to talk about his personal life, which he married Elizabeth Somerville in 1885 or 1886, something like that, to 1946, and they had 2 sons and a daughter. So he was knighted in 1918 for his contribution to propaganda efforts during World War I. And he published an autobiographical book, Memories and Notes, in 1927. And then Hope died actually because of throat cancer at the age of 70 at his country home, Heath Farm, at Walton-on-the-Hill in Surrey. So there is a blue plaque on his house in Bedford Square, London. So
he wrote a lot of books.
Yeah. So from his earliest career in 1890 to 1937, he wrote like
around 30, more than 30. It's a lot of books.
So I think that is all about our second book author, Prison of Zenda, which is Sir Anthony Hope Hawkins. We had a very good experience in reading his bibliography, and we are inspired. Right? Yeah. So till we meet again in our next video on the characters. The characters of Prison of Zenda. Alright, bye.